From Science News, new species of stegosaur discovered in China. From prehistoric to present, my name is Ethan. Welcome to Creature Guide Live Daily News. Now, let's dive into the animal news of the day. So, who do we have here? This looks, like a very iconic stegosaur, Yen Bailong ultimus. Stegosaurs were a group of plant-eating. Yes, we know this. These dinosaur. Okay, come on. Where's the animal? Okay. They range from the Middle Jurassic to the early Cretaceous, but are rare and poorly represented in the Cretaceous. Yes, this is very true. Stegosaurs are usually talked about during the last 5 to 7 million years of the Jurassic. Before our study, there were only four valid taxa from the Cretaceous: Paranthrodon, Werasaurus homini, Werasaurus ordodensis, and Megalostegus espectabilis. So, wow. So we found quite a few vertebrae of this distinct animal, Yen Bailong. The new species from the Cretaceous, Yen Bailong ultimus, lived in what is now China between 113 and 100 million years ago. So this would have been one of the last stegosaurs to exist. I believe the stegosaur lineage ended up going extinct somewhere around 105 and 108 million years ago, towards the end of the early Cretaceous period. But, before, like, the very end of the early Cretaceous, which is 100 million years ago, the Stegosaurus fossilized remains were collected from the Zoyun Formation of Zoyun County, the Chinese province of Shanxi. Yembalong ultimus represents one of the latest records of Stegosaurian taxon in the world. Compared to other stegosaurs, Yenbailong ultimus has several unique characteristics in dorsal vertebrae and iliosacral block. Also, when it comes to the animals that have been found in a formation adjacent to the Zaiwan Formation in China, especially the Beihen Formation. This is Alxosaurus, which is a member of the Therizinosauridae lineage of theropod dinosaurs, whereas the Stegosaurs Yunbilong is an ornithischian. So this is a saurischian. Alvarezsaurus reached somewhere around 13 feet in length, or a little over, or just about 4 meters, and could have weighed as much as 800 pounds. So for the time, this was actually quite a large species of Therizinosaur. These animals most likely would have been covered in feathers, and this was quite far before the more famous Therizinosaurus would evolve. Therizinosaurus didn't show up in Mongolia until and northern China somewhere around 71 million years ago, towards the beginning of the Maastrichtian stage of the late Cretaceous. But this is still in the early Cretaceous, and this animal was an herbivore, so it was probably feeding on low lying to medium height. Um, at least when it comes to different species of herbivores, species of leaves, as well as probably feeding on ferns from time to time. Then you have a member of the Alvarezsaurid lineage of the theropod dinosaurs. This is Benincus, which probably reached somewhere around 6.5 feet in length, around 2 meters, and didn't weigh much more than 40 to 50 pounds. This animal was probably feeding on different species of insects, as well as might have even been a omnivore like its distant relatives, the troodontids. So it's probably feeding on different species of fungi, amphibians, small reptiles, and I believe this is also the exact same species. It's just a different reconstruction. It's still a really good drawing. They also had quite small forelimbs compared to their body size, like certain species of troodontid might have. But troodontids also, on average, had longer arms. But this animal, like the troodontids, had very long and narrow snout, a bit similar in some instances to even the velociraptorines of the dromaeosaurid lineage. But the velociraptors and the troodontids, I don't believe by this point had evolved yet. So there's also an earlier species of ornithopod that was found to a much earlier date than the Yunbelong stegosaur. This animal, so despite being found in the formation, was found in an older member, and this is Bionanosaurus, which is a species of early iguanodontid, living close to the same time as Iguanodon over in England and Decododon in North America. This animal reached somewhere around 9 meters in length, around 30 feet, and could have weighed as much as 4.5 to 5 tons. So it was a large species of iguanodontid for the time, and was also one of the first dinosaurs to have efficient chewing like the iguanodon. So these animals had very few predators in the region where they've existed, probably because, at least at the moment, we have not found any species of large predators in the region. So we don't really know at the moment what might have hunted by a Nonosaurus. Um, well, this animal would be larger than a Borneo elephant. I mean, if it could possibly reach 5 to 6 tons, Borneo elephants do not reach that size. That's also much larger than female African forest elephants. Even for an African male forest elephant, that's quite a large individual. And then later, well, then earlier in the Cenozoic era, so during like the age of mammals, you have it where certain species of gomphotheres or even certain species of mastodon did not reach that size. So this was a medium-sized herbivore dinosaur, herbivorous. Oh, and then you had the small ceratopsians, which had started increasing. Well, they started increasing variety much earlier in the early Cretaceous, but they first evolved in the late Jurassic. But this is around 113 million years ago, so probably around the same time, maybe even the same place as the Stegosaur. This is Cetacosaurus, which did not have a frill like its later relatives, such as Triceratops. However, it is quite closely related, or it's more closely related to Triceratops than certain other small ceratopsians at this time. And it is a member of the um, uh, Cetacosauridae lineage of ceratopsians. It is also one of the only dinosaurs that we have preserved coloring of. So this is probably a very um, similar coloring pattern to the way it might have looked when it was alive. And the horns on the side of its face might have not just helped the with attracting mates during the breeding season, but could have also been used as potential defensive mechanisms, like against possibly certain smaller tyrannosaurs at the time. And it is also very possible that it had feathers along its tail, and it was strictly bipedal, probably also feeding on different species of nuts and flowers at the time. So let's see. It has a higher, so referring to the Stegosaur Yan belong, it has a higher neural arch and smaller neural canal of dorsal vertebrae. And it has fewer number of fused vertebrae, sacrals and fenestrae, sacral ribs in the iliosacral block. The phylogenetic analysis shows that Yambelong ultimus is recovered as the sister taxon to a clade containing Stegosaur stenops, which is the famous Stegosaur species that many are familiar with, not the larger ungulatus, and Werhosaurus homheni. But it differs from these two taxa in several anatomical characters of dorosacral vertebrae ribs, sacral ribs, caudal vertebrae, and ilium. So this is good to hear that we have found another species of stegosaur with quite a few intact vertebrae from the early Cretaceous, especially pointing to less than 113 million years ago. Stegosaurs are very rare at this point, at least with what we found. So let me know in the comments what your favorite species of early Cretaceous Chinese dinosaur is. And from prehistoric to present, my name is Ethan. This is Creature Guide Live Daily News. Remember to like, comment, subscribe if you love talking about animals, and share this show with everyone you know, because nothing is better than all animals all the time.